Hi, I'm Shaul. Let's face it, I'm a lazy photographer. I think most of us, most amateur photographers are. Otherwise we would pick a creative pathway to our psyche that would be more labor intensive, like painting or writing music or whatever. All those art forms start from a blank sheet. Photography is different. It starts from the world. Everything is already there. And as I see it, photographer's job is to create some order from this chaos. So actually what we do as photographers is remove elements from the scene by focusing or isolating the interesting elements in the scene and trying to obliterate everything else. In most genres of photography, this is how it works. Except what I do, which is what I like to call dirty photography, which is a branch of documentary photography. I try to take as much as I can into the scene to give my subjects maximum context. When talking about laziness, the Parto principle comes to mind. This principle states that you can achieve about 80% of the best possible final result with putting in only 20% of the effort that is required to achieve the best result possible. So by putting in little effort, you can get most of the output, most of the results. Now this is true for a lot of problems we face in our lives, but it's especially true for photography, because you can say that most of the photograph is already ready right after you expose the film or the sensor to the light. Everything is already there, all the content. Now, of course, you can still improve with things by putting in extra work, like correcting for colors, removing noise, cropping, straightening, removing unwanted objects by cloning them out, but by large, once you completed the exposure, the image is already finished. Laziness actually starts before the exposure. Taking a photo can be as easy as pressing the shutter button. If everything is set correctly on the camera, on the lens, of course. Being able to see the settings clearly and making the changes before you take the shot, before the exposure, is actually something I would quite like to do. In the film days, it was easy enough because the number of variables you could control were very limited. The film or the film stock actually already determined to a large extent what chemistry of the image would be, which means how grainy it will be, how colorful, what tint the image will get based on the scene's color, temperature, and film stock's color temperature. All you could actually set on the camera was aperture on the lens and shutter speed. And in some cameras you could also set an automatic exposure, which means you choose one of the settings and the camera compensates with the other one. If you choose the aperture, the camera would select a matching shutter speed to account for the light in the scene. Otherwise, if you choose the shutter speed required, the camera would sometimes, in some cases, set the correct aperture by itself. Film sensitivity was already given. You could push it a little bit or pull it a little bit and ask the lab to develop the film appropriately, but that was really not something many of us did. Nowadays, the number of settings you have to think about before taking a picture is daunting. You have to think of the white balance, the ISO sensitivity, about the proper autofocus mode to use for the subject, for the scene. The frame rate, if you want to use continuous shooting, and a lot of settings to think about. It's really overwhelming. If I had to think of those things every time I want to take a shot, would be completely overwhelming, especially now during summer, when my brain is half dead anyway. So there is a lot to say in defense of simplifying things. And this is something I quite like about the camera I'm using now. The camera I'm using now is the Nikon ZF, and it has a traditional control layout of dials on the camera. See, here you can set your desired shutter speed, which for me is the most important variable when taking a scene, because I want to be able to control the amount of motion blur or camera shake when that becomes an issue. So typically for my type of shooting, I would use 1/60th exposure. Metering mode is, exposure mode is currently in manual, which means I can also set the aperture on the lens according to my needs or to my preference, and it all becomes really easy. I can see all the settings even before I turn the camera on. Then I just point it to my subject and shoot. It's easy enough. Here I have the exposure compensation dial, which I can use to overrule the metering of the camera. It's really very easy, and I much prefer such cameras to the more electronic control setup. Even if you have a screen here that on the top plate that displays all the settings, it's a lot easier for me to refer to them in this layout. Now there is nothing else I need to set. I use auto ISO to compensate for the light, and I use full area autofocus with the subject detection, which works like magic for my needs. So it's really easy. I really like how this camera operates. It has its own flaws, but the control layout is nice and simple. one area where technology really promotes laziness is autofocus. For example, now I'm looking at the camera, and there is a small square around my eye. It actually jumps from one eye to the other, and it keeps me in perfect focus, even if I get closer to the camera or further away. And this is a godsend. Autofocus used to be horrible. You really need to know what you were doing. Now I can put my face anywhere in the frame, and it will still somehow focus on me quite reliably. So this is one thing that really makes life easier, and it's something you used to have to think about a lot more. Specifically when there was no autofocus. When I started, focusing was manual, and you had to learn how to focus properly on, especially on moving subjects, but also for static subjects. And you had to learn how to use the depth of field to your advantage, and beware when using longer lenses. Now all those worries are largely gone. Then there is the decision whether to shoot in RAW format. I must admit I hate it. RAW is a curse to me, really. Processing, developing RAW images is time consuming, and it's brain consuming. I have other things to do with my time. So I would really like to shoot JPEG files all the time, files that are already cooked, that are final. Which is a lot like in the film day, although you can still correct them. Can do some processing and make them look better if this is what you want. There are two things really that you can only do in RAW. One is correcting the exposure, and the second is correcting white balance. Now, exposure doesn't bother me so much. All I need is for my main subject to be exposed reasonably well. I mean, with an error of not more than half a stop, too dark or too bright. And all cameras I've been using for the past, what is it, 15 years or so, do a good job. The metering is just fine, and in very special occasions I can override the metering of the camera, and I can get the results I want. It's not a big issue. White balance is different. Now, from my experience, it seems that the cheaper cameras, which are tailored to the casual photographer, the amateur photographer, do a better job than the advanced, expensive cameras. And it is really a paradox when you pay such a high price for a camera. You expect it to make a decent job in creating the JPEG files. But it's the opposite. The more advanced the gear, the more it requires from you. I used to shoot with Olympus cameras a lot, and the white balance was just fine. In some of the cameras it was great. It was very difficult to get an image where the calculation of color temperature was off. The high-end Olympus cameras used to have a dedicated color temperature sensor. It was situated behind a small piece of translucent white plastic, and it actually read the incident light and calculated the color temperature according to that reading. Now, when I moved to Nikon, white balance became an issue. All Nikon cameras I have used since the very first one, the D700, to the last one filming me now, the ZF, they all have crappy white balance setting. In fact, they have so many options for auto white balance that it should be obvious that the algorithms inside the camera are not very good, and the designers of the camera know it, so they give the operator some choice where the camera should make all the decisions for you. So this is one aspect that should be really improved in cameras. It's not only Nikon. When I shoot in mixed light or artificial light, I have to resort to RAW to be able to fix the color temperature after exposure. And to be honest, this is something I wish could be fixed a lot before other technological advancements are implemented in cameras, because this is something crucial that can actually save a lot of time and a lot of headache to the photographer. One more aspect of post-processing or developing the files for the final output has to do with too much correction. When you mix sharpening with noise reduction, which are two conflicting processes, so when you do both, you have to strike a certain balance. You always hurt the quality of the image. The images look more digital. So this is something I never do. I never remove noise, even if it's very grainy, and I never sharpen. And the reason I don't do those things is that I like to print the images. And when you print on paper, the image always looks cleaner, looks better in a technical sense than when you look at it through a screen, which uses transmitted light that makes everything more visible, more disturbing to the eye. When you look at an image in reflected light, like in a print, you simply don't see those flows. Nobody does. So I learned to leave the grain and the unsharpness, to leave them be. I also don't crop, because I can rarely improve an image by cropping, but this is because I do documentary photography. I'm a big advocate for using the right lens for the job, so there's no need to crop, and unless you really need the horizon to be straight, and then you have to
Oh,